Trey Gowdy. Hillary Clinton's crimes are much worse than anyone thought. In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can bet it was planned that way. Franklin D. Roosevelt. The news today is that James Comey revealed classified information in the memos he leaked. There is nothing new here, so why has it suddenly gone mainstream? For the answer, you have to know the players. First, Comey knows too much. He did his best to navigate the swamp while he was the FBI director, but Washington's criminal elite now needs a fall guy, and his handling of the Clinton email investigation angered people on both sides of the political divide, so he's the perfect sacrificial lamb. Trey Gowdy, one of Washington's few legitimate men of integrity and a frequent critic of Jim Comey, recently said, "I've had plenty of differences with Jim Comey, I want to be really clear about that. But I think history is going to be much kinder to Comey over his July press conference, in which he declined to prosecute Hillary, than the Democrats were when he had it. I think he had access to information that, because he's a stand-up guy who's not going to decimate classified information, although God knows everyone else is, he's not going to release it even if it casts him in a negative light." Gowdy is talking about something we reported almost 2 months ago. After working the case for over a year, Comey realized that damned near the entire government was involved. One agent with intimate knowledge of the case characterized Comey's dilemma this way: "There is enough for her and the entire government to be brought down. People do not realize how enormous this whole situation actually is. The problem is with the Clinton Foundation, as I mentioned, which you should just imagine as a massive spider web of connections and money laundering implicating hundreds of high-level people. This case would explode into a million other cases if fully brought to light, and then we would be one agency competing against the entire government and a horde of other interests. It is a very tense and uncomfortable position." Comey chose to avoid a massive storm, as the agent characterized it, that would have resulted from exposing the entire globalist power structure. That is why Comey allowed Hillary and everyone close to her to scrub and then destroy their personal computers and devices rather than conduct a proper investigation in accordance with standard FBI collection of evidence procedures. The only thing that stood in the way of Comey succeeding in protecting the Clintons' criminal syndicate was the nabbed discovery of Anthony Weiner's laptop that had almost all of the evidence that Comey has sought to eviscerate. While it's true that Comey is a dirty cop who should not be forgiven for turning his back on his responsibility to ferret out corruption wherever he found it, that is not the reason he's now the target of Washington's swamp. Quite the opposite is the reason, in fact. Clinton co-conspirators are growing more and more desperate to stop President Trump from fulfilling his campaign promise to drain the swamp, and James Comey, who knows where all of the skeletons are hidden, must be discredited prior to cutting a deal to tell Trump's investigators what they want to know in order to save his own bacon. Whatever we suspected about the Clintons' criminal actions, Trey Gowdy just told us it's a whole lot worse than we ever imagined. You zapped. We got him. Trump admin arrests most evil man alive. The latest arrest by the Trump Justice Department reveals the dangers of sanctuary cities. U.S. law enforcement officials have arrested Juan Rafael El Cubano Arredondo Oviedo, an enforcer for the brutal Los Zetas Mexican cartel in Chicago, Illinois. Juan Rafael was extradited to Mexico, where he has been charged with 28 counts of kidnapping. Juan Rafael was wanted for his role in a series of massacres between 2011 and 2013 that resulted in the deaths of over 300 people, the Daily Wire reports. Arredondo Oviedo escaped Mexican police and was found hiding out in Chicago, which is officially recognized as a sanctuary city. Federal police arrested Juan Rafael at an immigration court in Chicago. U.S. authorities transferred Arredondo Oviedo to the Mexican city of Nuevo Laredo, just north of the border. He is being held in a state prison where he awaits trial. The Mexican government is still asking the American government to locate, capture, and extradite Bertha Rosario Cheo Tellez and Ricardo L. Richard Diaz Miranda, who are also facing kidnapping charges for their role in the Coahuila massacre. According to Mexican authorities, Arredondo Oviedo was one of a series of foot soldiers that participated in the Coahuila massacre. Between 2011 and 2013, the Los Zetas cartel had almost complete control over the Coahuila state government. The gang used their control to exact revenge on gang members accused of betraying the criminal organization. Arredondo Oviedo, along with other enforcers, was charged with rounding up anyone connected to supposed traitors Villanueva and Garza Gayton. All family members, friends, relatives, and even innocent civilians who happened to share a last name, were rounded up and tortured in a variety of inhumane ways. After torturing and executing their victims, Los Zetas would transfer the bodies to local cartel ranches or state prisons for disposal. The bodies brought to the ranches were incinerated in brick ovens, while the bodies brought to the state prisons were submerged in barrels of oil and set ablaze. The ashes were dumped into a nearby creek that feeds into the Rio Grande, leaving their victims' families without answers. Los Zetas was founded in 1999 by a group of 34 former Mexican special forces. The soldiers acted as enforcers for local cartels until they opted to create their own criminal syndicate. Los Zetas are not as powerful as their rivals, the leading Sinaloa Mexican cartel founded by Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. However, the United States government says the Los Zetas are unmatched in their brutality. According to United States government reports, Los Zetas is the most technologically advanced, sophisticated, and dangerous cartel operating in Mexico. They use their sophistication to exert control over local governments. Other members of the Los Zetas cartel being held in American prisons are known for their extreme brutality. One Los Zetas leader is serving 7 consecutive life sentences in a Texas prison after he chopped up a living 6-year-old girl in front of her family to send a message. Another leader, now deceased, was known for eating the flesh of his victims. The arrest and extradition of Arredondo Oviedo is a significant step in making America a safer place to live. It is also evidence that President Trump and his administration are serious about being a law and order administration. Mueller corruption scandal breaks wide open, look what crime he buried for Obama. News has been breaking of Russia-connected corruption within the U.S. government. But, surprise, surprise, it has nothing to do with Donald Trump and everything to do with Barack Obama. Apparently, as Obama's administration was approving a Titanic deal to give Russian companies stock in U.S. uranium, the same Russian individuals were engaged in all sorts of nefarious behavior. Corruption, bribery, and various underhanded activities. We never learned about it, because it appears the FBI at the time was covering it up. And who was responsible for the cover-up? Oh, just the guy leading the Russian investigate today. From Daily Wire. Robert Mueller, who is the special counsel in charge of the Russia investigation, oversaw the FBI when the agency allegedly hid evidence it had collected that showed that Russian officials were engaged in a bribery scheme aimed at growing their atomic energy business inside the United States. The details were outlined in a report on Tuesday which showed that the evidence was withheld even from lawmakers as they questioned the Obama administration's approval of the sale of uranium-1 to Russia's Rosatom, which led to Russia controlling 20% of U.S. uranium. Former Representative Mike Rogers, RME, who chaired the House Intelligence Committee during the time the FBI probe was being conducted, told The Hill that he was never made aware of anything regarding Russian nuclear corruption, though many of his fellow lawmakers were concerned about the deal, which was also approved by Hillary Clinton's State Department. The Russian efforts to manipulate our American political enterprise is breathtaking. Wow, this is really looking bad for everyone involved. Obama, Clinton, Mueller are all in a big pot of corruption stew. Why were these charged covered up? Because they didn't want the deal to get nixed by Congress. So Mueller's people, during Obama's authority, hid the evidence to protect the deal. That's pretty shady, to me. It suggests that the administration, and those working for it in the FBI, were all but complicit in the bribery scheme. Perhaps they were beneficiaries of bribery? How can we know, since it was covered up? All this should lead to an investigation by Congress over just what went on back then. I had a hard time believing nobody will be prosecuted over this revelation. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Rush reveals Michelle Obama's immoral past after she trashed Trump. No more good Rush. Rush Limbaugh literally destroyed Michelle Obama after the shocking truth was revealed about her and her husband. Michelle Obama showed arrogance and hypocrisy, and after all, Rush gave her a good lecture. Read more below. You're gonna love Rush. We use hypocrite a lot around here, but no other word better describes liberal scumbags, and Michelle Obama is definitely worthy of the label after voicing her latest opinions. Michelle has been actively attacking Trump for his locker room comments, claiming she doesn't know any men who brag. She seems to have completely forgotten about the rappers she invited into the White House. Men brag, and she is telling people that she doesn't know men who brag. You know the people that have been to the White House? Rush Limbaugh said on his Thursday show. Forgive our language, but men who write lyrics about having sex with their beaches and hoes aren't exactly modest. And those lyrics were sung in the White House, performed specifically for the former First Lady. Not only did Michelle ask these men to perform their raunchy rhythms for her perverted enjoyment, she bestowed honors upon them. To say that she's never heard men brag at this point is utterly ridiculous. Not only has she heard male bragging, she's enjoyed it. We can't even count how many videos we've seen of the former First Lady getting her groove on to rap music. Yeah, I guess Michelle Obama wasn't there when the Reverend Wright was talking about Bill Clinton, Rush went on to say. You remember what Reverend Wright said about Bill Clinton, Monica Lewinsky? And Bill and Monica Lewinsky was riding dirty. Yeah, chickens have come home to roost, baby. Bill was riding dirty, and the population, the congregation went nuts. As Rush so aptly pointed out, not only has Michelle heard male bragging via her musical preferences, but she's heard it in church. Or did she choose to skip out that particular day? Michelle has gone on to say that these men, and even a few females with a passion for dirty lyrics, Beyoncé, are role models. For Michelle Obama to be actively attacking President Donald Trump over comments he made over a decade ago and then claiming she's never heard such language being used by men is a completely blatant lie. And her self-righteous pearl-clutching isn't fooling any of us. Many of the rappers Michelle places on a pedestal have actually been convicted of sexual assault crimes, whereas Donald Trump's record is clean. Michelle is not only a hypocrite in the highest degree, she's a pervert, in regard to her own so-called values. As a Christian and an activist against such poor behavior, one would think she would be vehemently against the actions of these men, not praising them and inviting them to perform. Michelle Obama was a disgrace during her time in the White House, and she remains so to this day. She tainted the walls of our government institution with her sick preferences, but Rush Limbaugh and we the people are not letting her get away with it. Angry Patriot Movement. Rush Limbaugh is a big patriot and a rational intellectual human being. Michelle Obama can manipulate her little frustrated liberals, not us. Melania Trump should never use the example of Michelle Obama. And believe me, our new First Lady will represent this country with honor and dignity.